Hello everyone, ARG back with some more Franchise Hockey Manager 9, and today of course we are continuing our journey towards greatness using the Hartford Whalers from their inception, or should I say from the time that they moved to the NHL, and we are on the quest to try to win the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. Of course, it didn't happen for us in the first season, but we did make the Montreal Canadiens sweat a little. That made me happy, even though ultimately we ended up losing the ultimate game in Montreal. So today we have the 1980 off season. It's going to be kind of interesting. There's free agency and of course the computer drafts for me. So one of my big fears that I have with the computer drafting for me, other than the fact that the computer is completely incompetent compared to my knowledge, is that I'm situated like in the draft, like our draft position is situated pretty much right in the sweet spot for the computer to be thinking about getting me a Igor Larionov, and of course, you know, Russian players can't play in the NHL until 1991, I think, because of the Iron Curtain rule. So if the computer drafts me a Russian player, it doesn't matter how good the player is. The player is going to be completely useless to me. So if that happens, I am going to gain the game, and I'm going to trade the Russian player to another team and try to get a haul of good players instead. So with that being said, we have a lot of news to look at, and I'm afraid to tell you folks that I think that maybe we're fucked. So I'm saying that because, of course, Gordie Howe retired, Dave Keon retired, and Andre Lacroix retired. So we lost our number 2 and 3 centers for absolutely nothing, and our first line right winger. Now for Gordie Howe, I kind of expected it. He's like, you know, a million years old by now. But losing Andre Lacroix and Dave Keon, our number 2 and 3 center, that's going to hurt. I don't have immediate help to come and fill that void. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with the poor Hartford Whalers here. So we're gonna go through all of those news. It takes a while. The off-season videos / streams are always a little bit more kind of chill, I guess. We don't really play games except for the preseason games, and you know, there's not a whole lot going on other than free agents and drafts, which I find very exciting. But you know, your opinion might differ. Who knows? Alright, so it starts with the top-selling Hartford Whalers jerseys for June, which, again, it's all players that I have acquired throughout the year. I think that the algorithm for that is broken. It would be nice if Out of the Park Development could fix that. And then we have a slew of retirement to talk about. So Bill Flett in Edmonton, retired, 36 years old, 2-star player. Paul Anderson, retired in LA, 37 years old, 2-star player. Dennis Extall, retired in Washington, 37 years old, 2-star player. Gordie Howe, retired, as I mentioned, 52 years old. That dude played, he was 51 years old in the NHL. Retired, 2.5-star player. So we lost our first line right winger, although he was there mostly by default. With that comes the news that Detroit is retiring is number 9. Bobby Hull also retired now. Of course, Bobby Hull in real life passed away over the weekend, I believe. So Bobby Hull is no more in real life. He is no more in my universe, as at least as part of being a player. He retired at 41, 3-star player. Alright, Dave Keon retired. That one I thought he would stay because in real life Dave Keon played a couple more years. So I thought that maybe he would stay at least one more year, but he didn't. 40 years old, 3-star player, and he is not on my team anymore. Same for Andre Lacroix, retired at 35, 3-star player. He had a pretty decent season too. I was hoping that he would not retire. He had like 61 points, I think, in 80 games. Stan Mikita ends his career as well, 40 years old, 3-star player at the time of retirement. And Chicago's gonna retire is number 21. Vaclav Nedomansky is retiring in Detroit, 36 years old, 2-star player. Hey, Kel, what's up? Paul Puphill is retiring, 37 years old, 2-star player with Edmonton. Bobby Schmutz calls it a career, 35 years old, 2 stars. Mike Walton also retires, 35 years old, 2 stars. All right, the top-selling jerseys for June was Doug Risebrough in Montreal, sold the most. It's mostly Montreal Canadiens, and again, they won the cup, right? So I guess that makes sense. Now, Detroit is looking to move Perry Miller. He's been put on the block. There might be a trade for Yves Bélanger. That's how you say that name in French. It's not Wives or anything like that. It's really pronounced Yves. So Yves Bélanger, 27 years old, goaltender, put on the block. Terry Harper retires from Detroit. He's 40 years old, a star and a half. Alright, so that's all our scout guy is rating the draft. So according to him, Chris Chelos is going to be going first. He was a really good defenseman for a very long time. Denis Savard, Paul Coffey, Larry Murphy, Dave Babich, Yari Curry, Mike Bullard, Igor Larionov, Kelly Rudy, Vladimir Krutov, Barry Peterson, Brent Sutter, Adam Oates, Doug Wickenheiser, Alexei Kasatonov, Andy Moog, Steve Larmer, Bernie Nichols, Vyacheslav Bykov, Andrei Komutov are the top 21 according to him. Haha, so you've been saying Eve property, that's good. So yeah, I would love to get me like a Larry Murphy or a Paul Coffey. I wouldn't say no to Adam Oates. We need help at center, right? So Adam Oates would feel good. Even eventually, I would need help in net. So Andy Moog might not be a bad goaltender to get. So there's a lot of interesting players in there, so I'm kind of curious to see what I'm going to end up with, since part of my challenge is to let the computer fuck me over. Alright, so now we have news about a whole lot of TV deals. I don't go over those, that's kind of extremely boring, so I'm just going to delete those as they come. Or actually, here's what we're gonna do. Alright, so owner confidence update. Okay, so Howard Baldwin is satisfied with how the team performed this season. Alright, that's good. We expect to be in rebuild mode next year. Find some good young players in the offseason. I will try my best. The fans want you gone and question how you ever got the job in the first place. Honestly, a lot of people in the organization are surprised you're still here. That may change soon. No, it won't. You can't fire me. Alright, and then the historical notes, no league change. That's not true, I believe. Now, I've done some research because I really like the playoff format from the season we just played. So I kind of looked that up. And like in 1980-81, I believe that the playoff format changes to where it's going to be really like division focus, where 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3, I think, from what I understand. So I guess we'll see. So it's not there, but one of the changes, and JT Dutch had told us it was going to happen. I thought that The Flames were in Atlanta for one more season. I was wrong. Of course, JT Dutch is almost never wrong about that kind of stuff. So he did say that they were relocating to Calgary. So now the Calgary Flames are a thing, and they are going to start building that rivalry against the Edmonton Oilers. NHL minimum draft age changes to 18, and other than that, no other changes. And notable new players: Jeff Courtnall, Grant Fuhr, Troy Murray, Adam Oates, Ron Francis, Gary Getty, Doug Gilmore, Dale Auerchuk, James Patrick, and Mike Vernon. So now we're going to delete all messages because I really don't care for all those TV deals. And here we go. All right, so now as we just learned, we're kind of fucked at center, right? So Dave Keon is gone, Andre Lacroix is gone, Gordie Howe is gone. He's not playing center, but he's gone nonetheless. So I'm gonna try to make up for that. So as you can see here, I sent a few contract offers to players in independent leagues. Some of those names you might have heard before. So I made an offer to Kelly Kisio, 20 years old, a center. He's only an alpha star now. He has a 3.5 star potential. That sounds about right. Maybe he can get up to a 4 star, I would say probably. Kelly Kisio was a pretty good player. Also an original Shark, I believe. So pretty decent player. So if he can develop a little bit, he can help us out at center. Dave Poulin, same kind of deal. He's 21. He's a 1 star, 3 star potential. You might remember Dave Poulin played for Philadelphia in the Bruins for sure. Well, we can look here. Yeah. I knew there was another team. I couldn't remember which one it was. So he played for Philadelphia, Boston, and the Washington Capitals. Those of you who are in Canada might also see him from time to time on the TSN broadcast. He's now a broadcaster for TSN. I sent an offer to Doug Smale. I don't expect for him to become all that great, but I do need some help on the wings. So that's free, cheap talent that I can recruit. And I almost have no right wingers anymore. So Bo Berglund, that's why I'm offering him a contract. He had a good season in Sweden in 79-80, so we'll see what happens with that. So that's where we're at. We're going to try to get those guys in, and we're going to see what we get through the draft and, go from there. Markov still hurt. He should be ready for the start of the season. And something very strange that I have noticed now, I have bought every single version of Franchise Hockey Manager since the very first version. And since the very first iteration of the game, preseason has always been 7 games. Always. I have 5 preseason games a year that I can count. So I'm only playing 5 preseason games. I don't know what to do with that information. I cannot process. That's the first time it has happened. All right, so with all that being said, hopefully we get those guys to sign. And the draft is in 3 days. I am nervous. I don't want to have to make trades, because I have Russian players. I want to land with something good on my own accord. Alright, so Bo Berglund is thinking about signing with us, Kelly Kisio as well, Dave Poulin as well, and Doug Smith as well. Oh, and then there's been some trades. Now, maybe some interesting ones. Let's see. Canucks and Penguins. Usually a mix of both. I find that if you recall everybody, the computer does a pretty good job of doing that. I think the first game he usually plays most of your main guys, and then after that he kind of goes with a lot of the young guys. So I usually let the computer handle that. I just recall everybody, and usually the computer does good with that. Right, so Chuck Arneson goes to Pittsburgh for Jim Hamilton. So smallish trade. Then LA and Philadelphia, Claude Larochelle goes to the Flyers for a 10th round draft pick. So I guess there's more rounds. Now remember, we talked about that. So 1979, 1980. So this year there's only 6 rounds, but apparently now there's at least 10. So Claude Larochelle traded for a 10th round draft pick. Trade between Calgary and Boston. Gord Wappel for a 10th round draft pick. So I guess there's 10. Looks like it's the lowest. Right, Edmonton and Detroit, Tom Eder and Cal Roadhouse are traded to Detroit for John Barrett and Steve Gallant, a very small trade. Trade between Minnesota and St. Louis, Jamie Gallimore for a 10th round draft pick. Yeah, another small trade. And Calgary and Boston, Terry Johnson for a 10th round draft pick. Yet another very small trade. All right. All right. Oh god, the draft is tomorrow. Alright, so Don Nagbar starting to feel better. Eventually he's gonna need to... hey, you did have a pretty good year in the AHL. 70 points in 78 games. That's pretty good. Alright, so we draft 7th. So that's kind of what I was saying. We're kind of like right in that sweet spot where Igor Larionov looks very interesting for the computer. I hope... nothing against Igor Larionov. He was a very good player, and if he could play right now, I wouldn't mind having him on the team at all. It's just that, you know, can't have him. Oh, Montreal cut Don Cut, so they bought him back. And they did the same thing with Rick Meagher. Oh, and then Washington also bought somebody back. Doug Gibson was bought back. And Steve Clippendale as well. Never heard of him. Alright, so... having fun over there? Alright, now is the draft. Now the computer should be picking for me. So let's see what happens. Alright, so Denis Savard is the first one drafted by the Colorado Rockies. Second is Chris Chelios, drafted by the Winnipeg Jets. Third is Mike Bullard, drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Adam Oates goes 4th, drafted by the Quebec Nordiques. Yari Curry goes 5th. He was drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. Oh, imagine if the Red Wings had Yzerman and Curry together. It could be very interesting. I mean, you don't get better than Wayne Gretzky, right? But it could still be very interesting to see Yari Curry with Steve Yzerman. Alright, so 6th is Dave Barr. Alright, so who is going to be drafted next? Oh god, that's us. Oh god, alright, let's do it. AI pick. Oh, I'm scared. Akanlube comes to the Hartford Whalers. Now, Akanlube was a pretty good player, but then he decided... so he played mostly for the Flames in real life, and he had some very interesting seasons, and then he just decided he wanted to go back home in Sweden, so... he should be good for us for a little bit. I would really have liked to have a center, but that's okay. I don't really have a good right winger right now. So if he can develop soon enough, I'm going to put him in that position. Alright, I think I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, okay, so that's weird because now I have 10 picks, but I had only 6 when I made the trade. Oh well. Alright, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do a CPU finish draft, and we can go and take a look at the drafts, the picks afterwards, because I don't want to be here forever. Let's finish the first round. Let's do that. Let's finish the first round, and then we'll go ahead and have the computer finish. That I don't know, Kel. I really don't know if the computer makes a smart decision or not. Alright, so 8 is Larry Murphy. I could have used a Larry Murphy, picked by the Rangers. Jeff Courtnall goes to the Washington Capitals. He did play there in real life. Barry Peterson was picked by the Chicago Blackhawks. Then at 11 we have Kelly Rudy, picked up by the Los Angeles Kings. Look at that. Bruce Driver was picked by the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 12th spot. At 13 is Paul Coffey, picked by the Edmonton Oilers. They don't need Paul Coffey. They already have Wayne Gretzky. Oh my god, I could have used Paul Coffey. Oh well. Steve Casper picked 14th by the Minnesota North Stars. Don Beaupre 15th by the St. Louis Blues. Oh, Don Beaupre. Is it Don Beaupre that was... No, it was John Casey, sorry. Rick Lanz picked 16th by the Calgary Flames. John Casey picked 17th by the Boston Bruins. 18th is John Chabot, picked by the Buffalo Sabres. Kelly Kisio, oh, that's not good. I thought I could sign him, I guess not. Oh, Kelly Kisio was picked by the Philadelphia Flyers, unless there's two versions of him. Oh no, I hope not. I think there was a bug like that in a previous version of the game. Regardless, Kelly Kisio picked 19th by the Philadelphia Flyers. Glenn Ely picked 20th by the Montreal Canadiens, and I believe that should be that for the first round. So I'm gonna have the computer CPU finish draft. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll take a look at our picks. See what we got. Right, so there's all those players that I can go and sign if I want because they didn't get drafted. Oh, I have a max of 52 contracts. Usually it's 50, so I guess it was more back then. Alright, so... Alright, so there might be a good way for me to look at whom it is that I got, but I know that I know how I can look at it. Alright, so the general consensus among media observers was that the Rockies had the best overall draft while the Red Wings came in for some criticism. So we got Akanlube, we got Brent Sutter, alright. Do need some help at center. Greg Stefan in net, I do need a goaltender. Randy Conneyward, alright, I can deal with Randy Conneyward. He did play for the Whalers as well in real life. Darren Veitch, Mike Sothers, Anders Carlson, Denis Cyr, and John Newberry. Alright, so Akanlube should become good, but he might not be able to play this year. I don't know if he's going to develop enough. Brent Sutter. Alright, Greg Stefan. Okay, we could have done worse, and the Red Wings are supposed to be the worst with Yari Curry. Now that's a really good one. Bob Brook, Phil Bork, Jim Pavis, Mike Moffat, Andy Brickley, Johnny Johansson, Gary Haight, Jay Caulfield, and John Bloom. Yeah, that's not all that great. Oh, the Kings for my friend JT Dutch are also in the worst category. Brian Mullen, Mo Manta, Dale Dunbar, Pekka Tuomisto, Glenn Damota, Craig Ludwig. Alright, he played for a very long time. I remember Craig Ludwig, like one of my friends made a joke, and I thought it was really funny when I was younger. He was like, "Man, when I started to watch hockey, Craig Ludwig was old, and he's still playing." That was like 10 years later. Steve Rooney, Tom O'Regan, Mark Fusco, Tom Herzig, and Michael Salat. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now I'm going to sign everybody that is 20 years old, because that's what I do. Oh, I might not be able to sign them now. I don't know. We'll see. No, I'm not saying Steve Alley. I'm letting him go to free agency. Alright, so we're going to sign Akanlube. And we're gonna sign Darren Veitch. Okay, and then we're gonna check, like, I'm gonna check all of my players. So one thing that I told myself, so usually when I play a regular game of Franchise Hockey Manager, I always wait until my prospects are 20 years old before I sign them. Now I told myself that for this particular save, I'm gonna check and see when they started in the league. So if they started before 20 years old, I'm going to sign them on the year that they started. I think it's fair. So we're gonna check Anders Carlson. I don't even know if he played in the NHL. He did, and he didn't play until 86, 87. So you're not getting signed, buddy. Not today. Randy Cunnywort. Okay, Randy Cunnywort did sign, play as a 19-year-old, but he only played one game. That counts. I'm gonna sign him. Okay, then Denis C. Oh, Denis C did play as a 19-year-old, so you're getting a contract. They never want the French prospect. I don't even know why it's a thing. If you put French prospect, they don't even want the contract ever. John Newberry. Okay, didn't play for a while, so we're not gonna sign you. Greg Stefan. Now, if he didn't play, if he didn't start in the NHL at 18 in real life, I would wait. Okay, so Greg Stefan didn't start until next season. So next season you're getting a contract. What about Mike Stothers? Oh, not for a while. What about Brent Sutter? Yeah, I had a feeling that Brent Sutter started in 80-81, so we are going to sign you as well. There you go. All right, so we're signing a lot of our rookies. That usually doesn't happen, like in my normal saves, I should say, or usual saves. All right, so Kelly Kisio is still shown as being potentially signed by me, but I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if there's two Kelly Kisios in the database. All right, so Bo Berglund signed. All right, so we have a guy that's a right winger that can play this year. I think he's gonna have a 10 in a couple things. Randy Cunnywort. Okay, everybody else is thinking about signing their contracts. I would if he wouldn't have played in the NHL at 18, but he did. So I'm sending him a contract of the contract. But you're right. If he would have started at 19 in real life, I would just have him in the minors. Alright, so Dave Poulin did sign, so we do have another guy that can play. Now, when I say can play, they're not like superstars, right? They're, they're able to play. Doug Smile also signed, so we have another guy. So we're filling up the cup boards here. Right, and Bob Daly is on the block in Philadelphia. Yeah, that may be an interesting guy for us, actually. I'm not sure what I could trade to them for him, but that would be an interesting player for sure. Right, so Denis C signed this contract, and Darren Veitch also signed. All right, we're getting there. Oh, there's been a trade between the Blackhawks and the Bruins. Tim Burke for John Bethel. Very small trade. Alright, so Randy Cunnywart signed this contract. Akan Lube signed this contract, and Brent Sutter signed this contract. So I see that the deal for Kelly Kisio is not there anymore, so I guess I just couldn't sign him because he was drafted, so there's no duplicate. That's good news. I would have liked to have Kelly Kisio, but yeah. Alright, so we have a few players now. We are a little thin at center. Let's see. So Brent Sutter, yeah, he's not ready to play in the NHL. So maybe he's going to start in the AHL. What about Dave Poulin? Dave Poulin can start in the NHL, but he's not going to be very good. I might not have a choice. I'm very, very, very thin at center. What about Akan Lube? Oh, he can start in the NHL. He's not going to be super good, but he can start. So I think we're going to do that. What about this guy? Yeah, I knew that he would have 10 in a few things. So I think he's going to be able to play. All right. Okay. Oh, the Binghamton Oilers. So our farm team moved to Binghamton now. Now I have all of those guys that I want to recall. In time for preseason. And again, I've been asking for 4 years now, but having a button that would automatically recall all of my players during the off season would be great, so I don't have to click on them one by one. That would be beautiful. I let the computer handle my training. There's a lot of things that I don't handle myself because otherwise, you know, just playing 1 month during a stream will take 3 hours. So there's things that I just let the computer handle. Usually I do my own drafts. Now I don't do my draft this year as part of my challenge, but usually I would do my draft. But usually training, scouting, and finances I let the computer handle. I find those things boring anyway. And that's okay if people like those things. I mean, you can do whatever you want in your game. I'm not trying to tell anybody to not do them. It's just me. I don't find those things very fun. Okay, so we have 47 players out of 52. I think that's a good number. I'm going to take a look one more time at free agency. See if maybe we can find another center. I'd feel a little bit more comfortable with one more center maybe. So let's see if there's one for us to be added. Matti Agman. Oh, yeah. Now that's for the Finn. Oh, and he did play in the NHL before. How old are you? 24? Hell yeah. I think I'm gonna give that guy a contract. Now, my scouting might not be super accurate on him, but he did have 71 points in 45 games in Finland. And he did play for Quebec in the WHA, and he was over a point per game. I'm going to take a flyer on that guy. I'm very thin at center anyway, so let's offer you a contract, buddy. And he's young, too. I like that he's young. Alright, let's continue to advance. Alright. So Matti Agman might come with us. All right, Matty Agman is on board. So we do have Matty Agman, so that's good. Let's take a look to see if I got screwed over. Nah, he's capable. He might even play on our second line at this rate. Alright, so eventually I'm gonna need a goaltender. I have the one that we drafted, Stefan, so hopefully he's gonna be able to develop. Because I think that we can ride John Garrett a few more seasons. Al Smith is probably about to be done, and I don't have much other than that. Ooh, Calgary's trying to trade Jean Pronovo. He does. I'm pretty happy with that signing. Hopefully he has a decent season for us. So Jean Pronovo has been put on the block. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's capable, but he doesn't have higher than a 10 in anything. So the Whalers are turning to Europe a lot. So we have Akan Lube, we have that Matty Agman guy we just signed, and then there's Bo Berglund that I signed as well. So we're gonna have some Europeans in our team. Now Europeans in 1980 there weren't a whole lot in the NHL. I mean there were some, but nothing like today. Ooh, Dale Talon, a name that you should be familiar with, Kel. Dale Talon has been put on the block by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Edmonton reportedly trades McCannon to Boston, so Kerry McCannon goes to the Bruins for Doug Butler. Another small trade. Oh, Markow about to come back. That's good. Oh, Barry Peterson signed his entry contract with the Blackhawks. Larry Murphy signed his entry contract with the Rangers. Don Beaupre signed in St. Louis. Denis Savard signed this contract with the Colorado Rockies, and Andy Moog signed with the Jets. Vancouver may move Ron Settlebauer. He's alright. Maybe a third line player. Oh, July scouting. Let's see. I think we're good. I know we have a few weaknesses, but we're, slowly getting better. All right, now that's going to be the training, and that's going to be very important to look at. Top-selling Hartford Whalers jerseys for July. Darren Veitch, Matty Agman, Akan Luke, Bo Berglund, and John Garrett. Oh, John Garrett. So all new acquisitions except for John Garrett. So people are getting excited, I guess. All right, important. Oh. Nobody got better in July. That's because everybody's taking time off, right? Yeah, Al Smith is getting worse and worse. Al Sims, Baron Shot, Tim Sheehy, Polic, Chuck Liffley, Don Kay, Rick Hodgson, John Garrett. I don't like that John Garrett's getting worse. Alright, the player that sold the most jerseys in the entire month of July is Serge Savard. Of course, no Hartford Whaler in there. Maybe one day. The Hall of Fame induction. I don't even remember who I voted for. Doug Mons. Yes, because I think it's considered like off time, so like they're not with the trainers, right? So they don't develop. So it's also normal during preseason. So like in September, it's also normal in September that's where you're gonna get the biggest boost because it's training camp and you're working on things that you need to work on. So you're always gonna get your biggest gains in September, but in July you never get anything, and I don't think you get anything in August either. So Doug Mons, the first one inducted. Henri Guichard inducted. No, I voted. I remember voting for Henri Guichard. At least I think I did. Norm Ullman. I don't remember voting for him. And Gump Worsley. All right. Hey, no problem, man. All right, so we have. We saw those. Mark Howe fitting better. That's good. Will New York move Steve Vickers? They've been trying since last season. I am not interested. He's a fake two-star player. And then there's been a trade between Montreal and the Islanders. Gilles Lupien goes to the Islanders for Glenn Duncan and Randy Johnston. Small trade again. Right, coach report on new players. Right, Bo Berglund and Denis Cyr and all of those. Markow almost back, and then there's been a trade between the Oilers and the Sabres. Peter Driscoll goes to Buffalo for Rob McClanahan. Smallish trade. Bigger than some of the trades we've seen, but still not a big trade. Markow is finally recovered. Now that was a gruesome injury. He had a fractured eye socket. I bet that hurts like a motherfucker. Here he is. Could Reg Thomas be traded? So Reg Thomas playing for Pittsburgh has been put on the block. Then there's been a trade between the Rangers and the Capitals. Jocelyn Guevremont goes to Washington for Wayne Stevenson. Then a Rockies Sabres trade. Don Saliski goes to the Sabres for Jordy Robertson and Paul Crowley. Small trade. Cliff Corral has been put on the block by Toronto, and then there's been a trade between the Sabres and the Canadiens. Oh, that's a big trade. So Pierre Larouche goes to Buffalo with Keith Acton. So Pierre Larouche and Keith Acton go to Buffalo for Bob Sauvé and a third-round draft pick. Wow. Now that's a big trade. Pierre Larouche, 4-star centerman. Keith Acton, he's a prospect at this time. He's 22. And then Bob Sauvé is an established goaltender, 25 years old. He's a 4.5-star goaltender, and then a third-round draft pick. Now that's a pretty big trade. Funny enough, JT Dutch had suggested that when I had problems with Blaine Stockton, he had suggested that I go for Pierre Lagouche in Montreal. Now, Pierre Lagouche is not in Montreal anymore, but he's still in the conference. He's in Buffalo. Oh well. So lots of small trades. I like when there's a bigger trade from time to time. It wouldn't be realistic if it was all big trades too, so I'm not complaining too much, but it's nice to see a big trade from time to time. Alright, so a trade between Vancouver and Boston. Ron Settlebauer finally ends up in Boston with the rights to Chris Valentine for Dwight Foster. Interesting. And the rights to Rick Dorman. Interesting trade. We are advancing. Okay, Bill Act has been put on the block. Yeah, he could be an interesting option. I kind of want to see what I have first, so I very rarely make big trades in the off season. I know that in real life sometimes that's where it's the best time to make trades, but I kind of like to see what I have first. So, wow! Now that's a big trade. Oh, I like that. I think that the Nordiques fleeced the Flyers. They traded Robbie Ftorek to the Flyers for Brian Propp. Wow. Yeah, I think that the Nordiques fleeced the Flyers on that one. Robbie Ftorek for Brian Propp. First of all, Robbie Ftorek is 28, Brian Propp is 21. Brian Propp is just out of a 97-point season in his rookie season, and I do believe that he won the Calder, right? Yep, he did. Oh, what a trade. What a fleece. Oh, and the Flyers weren't done there. They went and they traded Bob Daly to the Canucks for Jacques Lemaire. So Jacques Lemaire is now with the Flyers. Wow, Brian Propp with the Nordiques. I'd like to say that young ARG would be elated by that trade, but young ARG is about to be 2 years old now, so... Alright, so a trade between the Oilers and the Nordiques. Lars Zetterstrom and Robbie Laird go to Edmonton for Dan Newman and Owen Lloyd. Yeah, that's a small trade after the big splash of getting Brian Propp. What will Los Angeles do with Ron Graham? Put on the block. Okay, I don't really care. Now let's see. I don't remember if this training is also kind of bad or... Right, John Garrett, Charlie Simmer, Markov, Gordy Roberts, and Darren Veitch sold the most jerseys. That makes a little bit more sense now. Oh, we don't have one. Okay, yeah, that's true. We don't have one because we're going to get it at the start of training camp, and that's where the big numbers are going to be. Well, you know, big... Alright, so Guy Lafleur sold the most jerseys in the NHL, and Steve Kasper signed his entry contract with the Minnesota North Stars. Alright, so we are getting close to the start of preseason. I already recalled all of my players. Ooh. All of those guys are fitting better and should be ready soon. Trade between Calgary and Pittsburgh. Jean Pronovo goes to Pittsburgh for Gary McAdam. Yeah, I think that the Flames got the best in that trade. Yeah, they did. Even, yeah. Alright, so Gary Hunger in Calgary has been put on the block. Okay, there's been a trade between Montreal and Minnesota. Yvan Joly and Dave Allison go to Minnesota for Alex Pires. Ooh, another big trade, Vancouver and LA. Vancouver getting Butch Goring for Stan Schmiel. Wow, Stan Schmiel goes to the Kings. Butch Goring goes to the Canucks. So the Canucks go for the experience, right? Butch Goring is 30. He's still a very capable centerman. Stan Schmiel is young. He's a right winger. Oh, I'm liking some of those trades. I'm liking some of those bigger trades we're seeing. Jim Harrison has been put on the block in Edmonton. I think that's like the 7th time they've done that. We're about to enter preseason on the 25th. Pittsburgh and Vancouver made a trade. Oh, Dale Talon finally moved. So Dale Talon goes to Vancouver along with Nick Libet. In return, Pittsburgh get Kurt Fraser and the rights to Jack Mikilargi. Alright, and now a trade between the Rangers and the Bruins. Ed Pizunski is going to the Rangers for Bobby Crawford. Very small trade. Buffalo reportedly receives offers on André Savard. Alright, André Savard's been put on the block. Alright, 5 more days before we start preseason. Alright, here it is. Oh, I have to set my captains today, huh? Alright, Markow is going to become my captain. Mike Rogers is going to be my first alternate, and Charlie Simmer is going to be my second alternate. Because I don't think that Alex Tidy is going to play. And we are playing our first preseason game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're still going to take a look at them, even though it's preseason. Do they have any injuries that are lingering? They do not. Alright, so the Leafs in net have Allen and Palmateer. On D, they have Dory Quenneville, Borje Salming Hutchinson, Burrows, Wilson, and Mags. Up front, they have Anderson, Lever, Marcotte, Boutet, who played for the Whalers in real life. Bridgman, Garner, McKechnie, Sittler, Wilson, Boschman, Butler, McDonald, Corral, and Saganiak. Let's see if we can win this. Let's see who we are going with. Alright, let's see what happens here. We're going to have John Garrett in net. They're going to go with Mike Palmateer. Of course, go Whalers, go, even though it's preseason. I want a W. And it's a tie, a 3-3 tie. All right. We did outshot Toronto 34-32, so that's good. Lever was the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. Mike Rogers was the second star with 2 assists. And Saganiak was the third star with a goal and an assist. We open up the scoring in the first. Charlie Simmer scored from Mike Rogers and Ray Allison. And then Ray Allison from Jordy Douglas and Gordy Roberts. It was 2-0 Hartford after 1. Then in the second period, John Anderson scored. It was 2-1 for Hartford. And Jay Wells has been surprisingly offensive for us. And I don't mean that as in, flipping the bird type of way. I mean, he's been putting up points a little bit. From Mike Rogers and Bo Berglund, my acquisition from Sweden in the offseason. So it was 3-1 Hartford. Then Toronto scored. It was 3-2. Couple fights, Dave Hutchinson and Bill Bennett, and then Don Lever and Nick Fotiu, and then Jerry Butler and Jay Wells. All of those fights happened in the second period. Then in the third period, Toronto tied the game. There was another fight between Mel Bridgman and Ray Allison. We had a 3-3 tie, of course, still no overtimes back in that era. Bo Berglund is hurt. I just got him. He had an assist. Everything looked so promising, and look at him get hurt. For 1 to 2 weeks, it's not the end of the world. Big game for Pierre Larouche, first game in preseason game for Buffalo, 3 goals and an assist with his new team. Rick Martin lights the lamp in that same game, 3 goals and an assist as well. Strong night for Mike Bossy with the Islanders, he had 3 goals and an assist against Pittsburgh. Memorable night for Denny Potvin in that same game. He had 3 goals and 2 assists. And Brett Callaghan has a strong game for Edmonton. He had a hat trick against the Chicago Blackhawks. And we are now playing the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. Alright, let's see. So Buffalo has Don Edwards and Jacques Cloutier in net. Up front, on D they have Dunn, Ash, Corab, Schoenfield, Mike Ramsey, Van Buxmere, Playfair, and up front they have Dudley, Martin, Ramsey, Driscoll, Richard, McKigney, Luce, Perrault, Larouche, Smith, Savard, Sauvé, Guerre, and Sealing. We have a pretty decent team, but they did trade Bob Sauvé to Montreal. Al Smith in net for us, Jacques Cloutier in net for Buffalo, of course. Go Waiters, go! Oh, we lost 9-4. That's very unfortunate. We were outshot 50-27. Sealing was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 3 assists. Martin was the second star with 2 goals and 2 assists. And Van Buxmere was the third star with 2 goals. Right, so Buffalo scored 3 times in the first period. Then Mark Howe scored on a power play from Greg Carroll and Jim Warner. It was 3-1 Buffalo after 1. Then in the second period, Mark Howe scored again on the power play from Jim Warner and Greg Carroll. It was 3-2 Buffalo. Then Buffalo scored twice, 5-2. Then we came back to within 1. Mark Howe scored his hat-trick goal from Greg Carroll. Then Matty Agman that we got as a free agent scored on the power play from Jim Warner and Mark Howe. 5-4 Buffalo after 2. Then we had a fight between Danny Gare and Brian Baltimore. Still love that name to death. And then in the third period, Buffalo scored 4 more goals, and we never were truly in this one. We lost 9-4. Mark Howe lights the lamp. Hat trick, as we saw. 3 goals and an assist. Edmonton shopping John Gould. That guy had 3 assists. And last year he played 5 games for me and he had 4 points. Maybe I should... No, he shouldn't be... Look at that. It was luck. Alright, we have a day off and then we're going to be playing Boston. Alright, so Boston is in town. Yeah, we have the Ed XL Center now. Look at the Bruins. They do have a little injury. Jean Rattel is going to be playing hurt. Jerry Cheevers and Gilles Gilbert in net. Brad Park, Redmond, Smith, Ray Bork, McCrimmon, Milbury, Nicholson on D. Cashman, Jonathan, Seckard, Settlebauer, Maloney, McNabb, Miller, Rattel, McTavish, Middleton, O'Reilly, Crowder, Morrison, and Sungin up front. Oh, we're not going with our best players here. We are not. Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for Boston. John Garrett in net for us. Go Waiters! We lost 3-0. Not surprising. We really didn't have any of our best players up front. We were outshot 43-16, a real preseason game where we mailed it in with too many rookies and AHL players. Brad Park was the first star of the game. He had a goal. Keith Crowther was the second star with an assist, and Craig McTavish was the third star with an assist. 6,468 people at the XL Center in Hartford. We had a fight between Jay Wells and Stan Jonathan in the first period. Then we had some fights in the second period. Mike Simerda and Don Maloney. Then Jay Wells with Stan Jonathan again. And then Ack and Lube with Al Seckard. And then another fight in the third. Chuck Lefley fought Keith Crowder. Lots of fighting against the Bruins. Big game for Pete Mahavlich. He had a goal and 4 assists. Alright, we're playing the Flyers. Second to last game, preseason game. Let's take a look at the Flyers after they butchered their team. Right, so Phil Meyer and Pete Peters in net. On D they have Dupont, Turnbull, Watson, Wilson, Campbell, Holt, Murray, and Bosniak. And up front they have Barber, Kelly, Dean, Clark, Linsman, McLeish, Ftorek. Jacques Lamague is hurt. He's not going to play. Paul Holmgren is suspended. He's not going to play. Leach, Garans, Ververgaard, and Tim Kerr, which I wouldn't mind putting my hands on Tim Kerr at all, but it's probably going to cost me, you know, the secret to eternal life or something. All right. Oh, wow, they're playing this guy as a power forward. He has a 1 in that role. That's great coaching there. Pete Peters in net for the Flyers. Al Smith in net for the Waiters. Go, Waiters, go! We won 6-3. We outshot the Flyers 37-32. Mike Rogers was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Jim Warner was the second star with a goal. And Rick Hodgson was the third star with a goal and an assist. 6,381 people in attendance for this preseason game. Nick Fote opened up the scoring in the first. The enforcer playing on the power play. That was a power play goal from Al Sims and Rick Aduono. 1-0 Hartford after 1. And in the second period, Mark Howe scored unassisted. Then the Flyers scored. It was 2-1. Then Mike Rogers scored on the power play from Greg Carroll and Charlie Simmer. 3-1 Hartford at that point. Flyers scored. It was 3-2. Jim Warner scored from Mark Renault and then Greg Carroll from Rick Hodgson and Ray Neufeld. It was a 5-2 lead after 2. We had a fight between Mike Rogers and Barry Dean. Then in the third period, Rick Hodgson scored from Mike Rogers and Mark Renault. It was 6-2. Flyers added 1 more goal, but it was too little too late. Of course, a 6-3 victory. Preseason win for the Hartford Waiters. Red light stays on for Rick Martin. He had 3 goals and 2 assists against the Rockies. All right. And we're going to advance 1 more day. Yeah, I think that after we play this game here is when we're going to go get the training update for preseason. I feel like they changed it, but I can't remember. Top selling Hartford Waiters jerseys for September: John Garrett, Markow, Charlie Simmer, Gordy Roberts, and Darren Veitch. Right, and Tom Sungen in Boston is the player that sold the most jerseys in September. He sold more than Guy Lafleur, more than Larry Robinson. That guy, yeah. Alright, and last preseason game is going to be on the road in Detroit against the Red Wings. Let's take a look at what they have. Alright, so they have Al Jensen in net with Roger Vachon, then Bergman, Hansen, Korn, Long, Miller, Barnes, Feastrick, Huber, and Larson on D. Up front, they have Ogrodnik, Thompson, Woods, who is hurt, not going to play, Labrayton, Lyle, Patterson, Mahavlich, McCord, Ogabone, Peterson, Balduc, Foligno, Curry, Webster, and Johnson. Well, maybe you can win this. John Garrett in net for the Waiters. Al Jensen in net for Detroit. Go Waiters, go. Oh, we lost 5-0. So not a whole lot to report. We got outshot 37-15. Pete Maravlich, first star of the game, a goal and 3 assists. Korn was a second star with 2 goals, and Yari Kuri was a third star with an assist. So Red Wings scored 3 times in the first period and 2 times in the second. And we had 1 fight, Pete Maravlich and Jay Wells in the third period. So that concludes preseason. We didn't do all that great. And of course, as is customary, Al Sims is hurt. That has happened a lot last season. Hopefully it's not for too long. I don't have a whole lot of depth on these, so... Oh, easily today. Alright. Dom Lever has a good game. He had 3 goals and 2 assists against Quebec. Oof. Quebec got torched. Lanny McDonald had 5 assists in that same game. And Wayne Gretzky had 4 goals and 1 assist against the Blackhawks. Alright, so do I stop here or do I play all the way up to opening? I think I'm gonna stop here. Let's do one more day. Alright. Kent Nilsson has a memorable game. Yeah, I wanted to see the training camp development report before I quit for the day. So Kent Nilsson, 2 goals and 4 assists. That's pretty good. Fogolin is hurt in Edmonton. He's gonna miss 10 months. Jesus, what happened to him? A concussion. Good game for Brian Sutter with the Blues. He had a hat trick. Guy Lafleur keeps fans on their feet all night. He had a hat trick as well against Minnesota. Strong game for Danny Gare. He had 3 goals and an assist against Toronto. Alright, so those guys are feeling better. Training camp. Alright, that's the good stuff. That's where your guys usually get the most points. So Rick Aduano got more determination. Ray Allison more bravery. Greg Carroll more determination. Randy Kennywart. Now that's what you want to see. You want to see your prospects get a bunch of points. So more strength, shooting range, offensive read, and hitting. Denny C, he's not, super well rated, but, determination, shooting range, and positioning. Don Gillen, still young, balanced leadership face-offs. Matty Agman, team player. Brian Hill, professionalism. Ken Holland, determination and passing. Mark more bravery. Bernie Johnston, aggression and leadership. Akan Lube, oh yeah, that's good. Acceleration, leadership, temperament, puck handling, and positioning. Yeah, that's good. We need some of those. Don Nagbar, some strength. Ray Neufeld, some strength and leadership. Ooh, Dave Poulin with the +3 in balance. Some leadership, getting open, shooting accuracy, hitting, defensive read. Wow, what a training camp for him. Mark Renault, +1 screening. Gordy Roberts, more professionalism. MF Sherman, team player and +2 professionalism. Byron Schutt, some leadership. Doug Smale, another one of those guys that's kind of young that I got. Balance, fighting, professionalism, shooting range, offensive read, face-offs, and stick checking. Stuart Smith. Acceleration, aggression, and professionalism. Sam St. Laurent, mental toughness, low shots. Brent Sutter, yeah, we want to see him get a lot of points too. Oh dear God, Didi. Agility, speed, screening, passing, puck handling, shooting range, checking, stick checking, defensive read. Darren Veitch, we want to see him do good too. Some shot blocking. Jay Wells, we want to see him do good. Team player. Greg Sheffan, recovery, he's a prospect. We want to see him do good. And John Newberry, fighting and stick checking. Whew. That was a mouthful. But yeah, Brent Sutter, Dave Poulin did good. Doug Smale did pretty good as well. Akan Lube did pretty good. So yeah, we had some progress there. Alright, so yeah, we have a lot more capacity in that arena than the first one that we played at. So we have 15,635. So that's good. Alright, we are the team that sold the least tickets. That's okay. That's gonna change because we are going to become really good eventually. Alright, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and stop here for today. So definitely we had some let's see, like a guy like Sutter wasn't ready, but now with all the points that he got, easy. Oh yeah, now he can play like two-way forward in the NHL. So now all of a sudden, good training camp, and he's going to start in Hartford. So yeah. Who else had Dave Poulin had? Yeah. Look at that, with his +3 balance, he now has 17. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and save the game. Now, of course, next time out we're gonna have the month of October so that we can see our new team in action. I'm gonna decide on the lineup and whatnot shortly before I go live next time. That's gonna be it for today, though. So I do want to thank you for tuning in. And if you're catching this on YouTube, made it that far, and you like the video, you know what to do. But that's a ARG out sighting. I have to get ready to make dinner here soon. So again, thank you, and you have a good one. See you folks later.